I always thought family meant having your back. That delusion shattered the moment I watched my mother slide the contract across the mahogany conference table, her manicured nails tapping impatiently against the wood. My name is Felicity, and I was about to lose everything I'd built. It's just a formality, dear, Mom said, her voice dripping with that artificial sweetness she reserved for manipulating people. The family will handle everything, marketing, distribution, all of it. You just keep creating your little potions. I stared at the stack of papers, my successful beauty formula's future laid out in cold legal terms. The conference room's floor-to-ceiling windows offered a view of downtown, but all I could see was my reflection. Tired eyes, messy bun, and the uncertainty written all over my face. I don't understand why we need this, I said, gripping my pen tightly. The line is already successful. We sold out 3 times last month. Dad cleared his throat, straightening his designer tie. Which is precisely why we need to protect the family's interests. You're not exactly business savvy, Felicity. Remember that failed boutique of yours? I was 19, Dad. Exactly our point, Peyton chimed in, my younger sister's smile not quite reaching her eyes. Let us handle the business side. You're good at creating products, but this is bigger than you now. The boutique comment stung. One failure from my teenage years, and they'd never let me forget it. Never mind that my natural skincare line had just been featured in Vogue, or that celebrities were raving about my vitamin C serum on Instagram. What exactly am I signing? I asked, flipping through the pages. Just transferring the rights to the family corporation, Mom said dismissively. We'll handle everything. You'll still get your share. Josue, my boyfriend at the time, squeezed my hand under the table. It sounds reasonable, babe. Your family knows what they're doing. I should have noticed how he'd been spending more time with my family lately, how Peyton's eyes lingered on him a second too long. But I was blind then, desperate for approval, for belonging. And if I don't sign, Dad's facade cracked slightly. Then you're on your own. No more family support, no more connections, no more doors opened for you. Is that what you want? The threat hung in the air like poison gas. I thought about all the times they'd helped me. The startup money, the introductions to retailers, the PR connections. But I also thought about the midnight hours perfecting my formula, the countless rejections before success, the tears and determination that were mine alone. You have 10 minutes, Mom announced, checking her Rolex. The lawyers have other appointments. Peyton leaned forward, her designer blazer immaculate. Come on, Fel, don't be difficult. This is what's best for everyone. I looked at each face around the table. Mom's impatience, Dad's stern authority, Peyton's barely concealed triumph, Josue's encouraging nod. My family, my support system, my supposed safety net. Where do I sign? I heard myself ask, my voice small and foreign to my own ears. The pen felt heavy as lead. With each signature, I felt pieces of myself falling away. 13 pages later, it was done. My creation, my success, my future, all signed away to the family corporation. Excellent, Mom beamed, gathering the papers efficiently. Legal will file these today. Dinner at the house on Sunday? I nodded numbly, watching them file out. Mom already on her phone, Dad discussing profit projections with Peyton, Josue lingering awkwardly. Want to grab lunch? He asked. I need to be alone, I managed, still staring at the empty space where the contract had been. After they left, I sat there for a long time, watching the sun set over the city. My phone buzzed with a text from Peyton. Thanks for not making this difficult. You did the right thing. The right thing. I laughed, a hollow sound in the empty conference room. I'd just handed over my life's work to people who'd never believed in me, who dismissed my dreams as frivolous until they proved profitable. As I gathered my things to leave, I caught my reflection again. Something had changed in my eyes, a hardness, a resolve I'd never seen before. I might have signed away my company, but they hadn't taken my knowledge, my skill, or my determination. They thought they'd won. They thought they'd put me in my place. The family dreamer finally brought to heel. But as I walked out of that conference room, one thought crystallized in my mind. This wasn't the end of my story. It was just the beginning. 3 months after signing away my company, I was living in a studio apartment above a Korean restaurant, surviving on waitressing tips and the lingering scent of bulgogi that permeated everything I owned. My family's fair share had turned out to be barely enough to cover 2 months' rent. The bell above the cafe door chimed as I wiped down tables during my morning shift. I looked up to see a familiar face I hadn't encountered in years. Felicity? The woman's voice was warm, professional. I thought that was you. Professor Gibson? I straightened up, suddenly conscious of my stained apron and messy ponytail. I mean, Emerson? She smiled, setting her designer bag on a nearby chair. I've been trying to track you down. You're not easy to find when you want to disappear. That was kind of the point, I said, continuing to wipe tables. I'm sure you've seen the news about my family's innovative new beauty line. I have. She pulled out a chair. And I've also seen the reviews claiming the products aren't quite as effective as they used to be. I stopped wiping. Of course they weren't. My family had the formula, but not the knowledge behind it. The precise temperatures, the exact timing, the little tricks that made everything work perfectly. Your shift ends soon? Emerson asked, checking her watch. In 15 minutes. Good. Let's talk properly then. I'll wait. Those 15 minutes felt like hours. When I finally hung up my apron, Emerson was still there, working on her laptop. We moved to a quiet corner table. You look terrible, she said bluntly. I laughed for the first time in weeks. Thanks. That's exactly what every former student wants to hear from their mentor. You're living above Mama Kim's, working minimum wage while your family profits from your creation. She leaned forward. What are you going to do about it? Do? There's nothing to do. They have ironclad contracts. For that formula. Emerson's eyes sparkled. But not for your next one. I shook my head. I can't. I have no money, no resources. Stop. She held up her hand. Do you know why I tracked you down? Because talent like yours doesn't just disappear. Because I've spent 20 years in this industry, and I know potential when I see it. Emerson, I appreciate this, but I'm starting a new beauty incubator program. She interrupted. Small batch, highly exclusive, focusing on natural ingredients. I need someone who understands formulation from the ground up. Someone innovative. She paused. Someone with something to prove. My heart started racing. My family would never. Your family doesn't need to know. She pulled out a business card. New name, new brand, new everything. They took your past, Felicity. They can't take your future unless you let them. I don't know. But my fingers were already reaching for the card. You do know. I saw your face just now when I mentioned the declining product quality. You're angry. Use that. The cafe door chimed again. I froze as Peyton walked in, designer sunglasses perched on her head. She didn't notice me at first, focused on her phone. Felicity? She stopped short. What are you working here? I stood up quickly. I have to go. Wait, Peyton called out. Mom's been trying to reach you. We need to discuss some formula adjustments. No. The word came out sharp, surprising even me. You have what you wanted. Figure it out yourselves. I grabbed my bag and headed for the door, hearing Emerson's chair scrape back as she followed. Outside, the summer air hit me like a wall. Well, Emerson said, catching up. That was interesting. I'm sorry, don't apologize. That fire I just saw? That's exactly what we need. She handed me another card. My home address. Come by tonight at 8. Let's start planning your comeback. As she walked away, I looked down at the cards in my hand. Behind me, I could hear Peyton's voice ordering her usual complicated coffee. My sister, who'd always competed with me, who'd helped orchestrate my downfall, who probably thought I'd given up. I pulled out my phone and texted my manager that I quit. Then I walked to the bus stop, my mind already racing with possibilities. I had nothing left to lose, which meant I had everything to gain. For the first time since that day in the conference room, I felt something other than despair. It wasn't quite hope. Not yet. But it was close. It was determination. Tonight, I would start over. And this time, I wouldn't make the same mistakes. Emerson's home lab smelled like lavender and possibility. Glass beakers lined the shelves, and a state-of-the-art mixing station dominated the center of the room. It had been 2 weeks since our cafe encounter, and I was already feeling more like myself. "Try this," I said, handing her a small vial of pale golden liquid. "I've added white tea extract and increased the niacinamide concentration." She applied a drop to her wrist, rubbing it in methodically. "Texture's perfect. Absorption rate." She checked her watch. "Impressive. But we need something more. Something revolutionary." The door chimed, and a young woman with wild, curly hair bounded in, arms full of shopping bags. "Sorry I'm late, but wait until you see what I found at the farmer's market." "Felicity, meet Andrea," Emerson said. "She's our botanical expert and trend forecaster." Andrea dumped her bags on the counter, pulling out various plants and herbs. "These are indigenous to South America, completely untapped in the beauty market, and the sustainability story is incredible." I picked up a strange-looking root. "What is this?" "That," Andrea grinned, "might be our secret weapon. It's been used by local healers for centuries. The antioxidant properties are off the charts. For the next few hours, we experimented with extractions and combinations." Andrea's energy was infectious, her creativity pushing my formulations in new directions. It felt different from working alone. Better, somehow. "Holy shit," Andrea exclaimed, checking her phone. "Have you seen this?" She held up her screen, showing a business magazine article. My stomach dropped as I read the headline. "Owens Beauty Line announces international expansion, family enterprise valued at $50 million. There was a photo of my family, Mom, Dad, and Peyton, cutting a ribbon at their new headquarters. My formula, my dream, their success. "They're struggling with production consistency," Emerson said quietly. "The market's noticing." "Good." I turned back to our samples. Let them struggle. Andrea looked between us, understanding dawning on her face. "Wait, Owen's Beauty. That was you?" I nodded, not meeting her eyes. To my surprise, she burst out laughing. "Oh, this is perfect. You know what's better than a good product? A good product with a story. And girl, you've got a story." "We're not using my family drama as a marketing strategy," I said firmly. "Not directly." Emerson interjected, looking thoughtful. "But Andrea's right. The market loves a Phoenix Rising narrative." "Speaking of rising," Andrea said, holding up one of our test tubes. "This formulation is incredible. The way it brightens and firms. We could call it Phoenix Rising." I couldn't help but smile. "That's a bit on the nose, don't you think?" "Sometimes on the nose works." Emerson was already typing on her tablet. "We'll need to move fast. I have investors ready, but timing is everything." "How fast?" I asked. 3 months to launch, small batch, exclusive distribution, heavy social media presence." She looked up. "Can you handle that?" Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. A text from Josue. "Can we talk? I miss you." Andrea peeked at my screen. "Ex-boyfriend?" "Ex everything." I deleted the message without responding. "And yes, I can handle it. Let's do this." We worked late into the night, refining formulas and brainstorming ideas. Andrea's botanical knowledge, combined with my formulation experience, created something entirely new. Something better than anything I'd made before. Around midnight, Emerson ordered pizza, and we sat on her lab floor, surrounded by samples and empty coffee cups. "You know they'll try to stop you," Emerson said, wiping her hands on a napkin. "Let them try." I held up our latest sample to the light. "They have my old formula. This is something else entirely." "We should document everything," Andrea suggested. "Every step, every decision, every ingredient source. Make it bulletproof." "Already on it." Emerson pulled out a thick folder. I've had lawyers working on this since day one. They won't be able to touch us. Looking at these two women, one who'd believed in me enough to track me down, one who'd jumped into this project with complete enthusiasm, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Belonging. Tomorrow we start production trials, Emerson announced. Andrea, can you source larger quantities of those botanicals? Already made the calls. And Felicity. She paused. Are you ready for this to get real? I thought about my family's smiling faces in that magazine article, about the contracts I'd signed, about all the nights I'd cried myself to sleep above that Korean restaurant. I'm not just ready, I said, standing up and gathering our successful samples. I'm going to make them wish they'd never underestimated me. Andrea raised her pizza slice in a toast. To Phoenix Rising. We laughed and clinked our coffee cups together. But beneath the lighthearted moment, I felt steel in my spine. This wasn't just about creating a new product anymore. This was about justice. The headline on my tablet made me choke on my morning coffee. Beauty industry's rising star, Peyton Owens named 30 under 30. The accompanying photo showed my sister in our old lab, pretending to mix ingredients she'd never understood. Did you see this garbage? Andrea burst into the lab, waving her phone. She's taking credit for the formulation process. Of course she is. I set down my tablet. Peyton always wanted the spotlight. Now she has it. Not for long, Emerson said, entering with a stack of papers. Our first production run is ready. 10,000 units of Phoenix Rising serum, ready for testing. The past 2 months had been a blur of 18-hour days, endless formulation tweaks, and more caffeine than any human should consume. But we'd done it. Our serum was perfect, better than anything I'd created before. The influencer packages are ready to go out, Andrea said, pulling up a spreadsheet. I've got 20 top-tier beauty bloggers lined up, all with proven track records of honest reviews. And look at this. Emerson handed me a glossy magazine. Page 32. I flipped to it and froze. There was a small article about upcoming beauty launches, with Phoenix Rising featured prominently. New luxury skincare line promises revolutionary results. Formulated by anonymous industry veteran. Anonymous? I looked up. For now. Emerson smiled. Let the product speak for itself first. The reveal will come later. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Darling, we need to discuss the original formula. Production issues. Call me? Delete it, Andrea advised, reading over my shoulder. They made their bed. Before I could respond, the lab door opened again. A delivery man wheeled in boxes of our finished product. The sleek black packaging with gold accents looked even better than I'd imagined. It's really happening, I whispered, picking up a bottle. Time for quality control, Emerson announced. Everyone grab a sample. We each took a bottle, going through our testing protocol. The serum was perfect, silky smooth, quick absorbing, with an immediate brightening effect. Everything we'd worked for. Everything we'd promised. Social media campaign launches tomorrow, Andrea said, snapping photos. The mystery around the founder is already creating buzz. People love a good secret. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Peyton. Mom's trying to reach you. Don't be childish, the family needs you. I showed the message to Emerson. They're panicking, she observed. The production issues must be worse than we thought. Good. I started packing influencer boxes. Let them panic. Andrea pulled up a video on her laptop. Look at this review of their latest batch. The comments are brutal. The video showed a popular beauty reviewer comparing their old product, my original formula, with their newest release. The difference was obvious. The new version was separating, pilling on the skin, completely ineffective. They're missing steps, I realized, watching the demonstration. Critical temperature controls, ingredient timing, things I never wrote down. Things they'll never figure out, Emerson added. Not without you. Another delivery arrived. This time, press packages from major beauty editors. Each contained our serum, along with a mysterious black card that read, "Sometimes the greatest beauty lies in rising from the ashes." The first reviews should hit next week, Andrea said, checking her calendar. Just in time for the holiday shopping season. And just in time for this. Emerson handed me an invitation. The annual Beauty Innovation Awards were next month, and Owens Beauty was nominated for Best New Brand. Perfect timing. I smiled, an idea forming. That's when we'll reveal everything. Are you sure? Emerson asked. It'll be very public. That's the point. I looked at our serum, then at the invitation. They took everything from me in public. Let them face the consequences in public, too. Andrea clapped her hands. Oh, this is going to be good. We should start planning your outfit now. Focus, Emerson chided, but she was smiling, too. We need to make sure every single unit is perfect. No mistakes, no weaknesses. They'll try to discredit us once they realize what's happening. My phone buzzed one more time. A message from Dad. Whatever you're planning, stop now. Don't damage the family name. I showed it to the others. They know something's coming, Andrea said. They just don't know what. Let them wonder, I replied, finally blocking their numbers. We have work to do. We spent the rest of the day checking and double-checking every detail. As the sun set, casting long shadows through the lab windows, I felt a calm certainty settle over me. In just a few weeks, everything would change. My family thought they'd written the end of my story. They were about to discover it was only the beginning of their nightmare. The first batch of Phoenix Rising sold out in 3 hours. I was in the lab monitoring our second production run when the door chimed. I looked up to see Josue standing there as perfectly styled as ever. Hey, stranger, he said softly. You're looking good. I kept my hands steady on the mixing equipment. How did you find me? I have my ways. He moved closer, that familiar cologne bringing back unwanted memories. I saw the Beauty Innovation Awards nomination list. Figured you might be behind Phoenix Rising. What do you want, Josue? To apologize. He leaned against the lab bench. I should have stood up for you that day. I was a coward. You were worse than a coward. I carefully measured out ingredients. You knew what they were planning. I did. At least he had the decency to look ashamed. Your sister, she can be very persuasive. The measuring spoon clattered against the beaker. Are you sleeping with her? His silence was answer enough. Get out. Felicity, please, I came to warn you. He grabbed my arm. Your family knows you're behind Phoenix Rising. They're planning something. I yanked my arm away. Let them plan. I'm not that naive girl anymore. They're claiming patent infringement. He ran a hand through his hair. They're building a case that your new formula is too similar to the old one. The lab door opened again, and Andrea walked in, arms full of fresh botanicals. She stopped short at the sight of Josue. Everything okay here? She asked, eyes narrowing. Just fine, I said. Josue was just leaving. Wait. He pulled out his phone. I have proof, emails, meeting notes. I can help you. Andrea set down her supplies. Help her? Like you helped her family steal her company? It's not that simple, he protested. Actually, it is. I turned back to my work. You chose your side. Now live with it. They're going to destroy you, Felicity. His voice hardened. Unless you have someone on the inside. Andrea stepped between us. She has everything she needs. The door's that way. He hesitated, then placed a USB drive on the counter. My personal backup of everything. Use it or don't. He walked to the door, then turned. For what it's worth, I really am sorry. After he left, Andrea picked up the drive. Want me to throw this away? I stared at it for a long moment. No. Give it to Emerson's lawyers. If there's anything useful. Smart girl. Emerson appeared from her office. I heard everything. He's right about one thing. They are planning something. Let me guess, I said, checking the temperature gauge. Cease and desist letters arriving in 3, 2. The lab door opened again, this time revealing a courier with a thick envelope. We all burst out laughing. Right on cue, Andrea said, signing for the package. Emerson took the envelope and scanned its contents. Standard legal threats, nothing we haven't prepared for. She pulled out her phone. I'll have our lawyers respond. They're scared, Andrea observed, sorting through her botanicals. Our reviews are incredible and their sales are dropping. My phone pinged with a notification. Another beauty influencer had posted their review of Phoenix Rising. The comments were flooding in, all asking the same question. Who was behind this miracle product? 2 weeks until the award ceremony, Emerson reminded me. Are you ready for what comes next? I thought about Josue's warning, about my family's desperate attempts to maintain control. The USB drive sat on the counter, a reminder of all the betrayals that had led to this moment. More than ready. I picked up the drive. And now we might have exactly what we need to finish this. I'll have our tech team analyze it, Emerson said, taking the drive. If there's anything incriminating, there will be, I said confidently. My family never thought Josue would turn on them. They wouldn't have been careful. Andrea started laying out ingredients for our next batch. Speaking of careful, we need to increase production. The waitlist is getting crazy. I nodded, focusing on the task at hand. Success was the best revenge, and right now we were succeeding beyond my wildest dreams. One more thing, Emerson said, pausing at her office door. The award ceremony. They'll all be there. Your family, Josue, everyone who betrayed you. Good. I smiled, measuring out our signature botanical blend. I want them to have front row seats when their world falls apart. Andrea high-fived me. Now that's the spirit. As we worked through the afternoon, I felt stronger than ever. Josue's visit had shaken me, but not in the way he'd intended. Instead of fear, I felt validation. They were scared enough to send him, scared enough to threaten legal action. And they should be scared. Because in 2 weeks, I wasn't just going to reveal myself. I was going to reveal everything. The Beauty Innovation Awards ceremony buzzed with industry elite. Camera flashes popped as I stepped out of the limousine, my gold dress catching the light. Nobody recognized me yet. I was just another face in the crowd. Ready? Andrea squeezed my hand, resplendent in emerald green. Born ready. I adjusted my clutch, which contained a USB drive loaded with evidence from Josue's files. Is everything set? Presentation's queued up, she confirmed. Emerson's inside with the tech team. We entered the grand ballroom, and I immediately spotted my family at their reserved table near the stage. Mom in her signature pearls, Dad looking smug, and Peyton practically preening in a red designer gown. They had no idea what was coming. There's your ex, Andrea whispered, nodding toward Josue, who sat beside Peyton. He caught my eye and paled visibly. Ladies and gentlemen, the host announced, please take your seats. The ceremony is about to begin. We found our table where Emerson waited with our legal team. Everything's in place, she murmured. The evidence is irrefutable. The first few awards passed in a blur. Then came the moment we'd been waiting for. And now the award for Most Innovative New Product. The host opened the envelope. Phoenix Rising Serum. The applause was thunderous. Industry insiders had been buzzing about our mystery product for weeks. As planned, Emerson took the stage first. Thank you, she said into the microphone. As the incubator behind Phoenix Rising, I'm honored. But there's someone else who deserves this recognition. Someone whose story needs to be told. That was my cue. I stood, feeling hundreds of eyes turn toward me. In my peripheral vision, I saw Peyton grab Mom's arm. Many of you know me, I said, taking the stage. Or rather, you knew my work under a different name. I'm Felicity, the original formulator of Owen's beauty products. The room erupted in whispers. My family's faces turned from confusion to horror as the screens behind me lit up with damning evidence. Emails plotting to steal my formula, meeting minutes discussing how to pressure me into signing, bank transfers showing how they'd manipulated company funds. But Phoenix Rising isn't about the past, I continued, my voice strong. It's about rising above betrayal, about creating something better. The screens switched to side-by-side comparisons, their failing product versus our soaring success, their plummeting sales against our waitlist of thousands. This award, I held up the crystal trophy, belongs to everyone who believes in second chances, in justice, in the power of truth. Dad stood up, his face red. This is slander. We'll sue. No, you won't. Emerson interrupted smoothly. Every document displayed here has been verified. Would you like us to show the offshore account transfers next? He sat down abruptly. Phoenix Rising isn't just a product, I concluded. It's proof that you can't steal talent, you can't fake expertise, and you can't keep a phoenix down. The applause was deafening. Beauty editors were frantically taking notes, photographers' cameras clicking rapidly. In the chaos, I saw Peyton flee the room, Josue following close behind. Mom approached the stage, her composure cracking. Felicity, please. We can talk about this. We're done talking. I turned to the audience. Phoenix Rising's full product line launches next week. And this time, everyone knows exactly who created it. The next hour was a whirlwind of interviews, congratulations, and industry leaders pressing their cards into my hands. Through it all, I watched my family huddled in a corner, their phones buzzing constantly as the story spread across social media. Check this out. Andrea showed me her phone. Our Phoenix Rising and Justice Served were trending. Our website had crashed from traffic. Ms. Owens, a reporter pushed forward. Your family's stock is plummeting. Any comment? I smiled directly into her camera. The beauty industry rewards authenticity. Draw your own conclusions. Later, as we celebrated at the after party, Emerson raised her champagne glass. To the most spectacular comeback in beauty history. To karma, Andrea added with a wicked grin. I watched through the window as my family's car sped away from the venue, their carefully constructed empire crumbling in real time. The satisfaction was sweeter than I'd imagined. To new beginnings, I said, clinking my glass with theirs. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. It was Peyton. You've ruined everything. I showed it to Andrea, who laughed. Should we tell her this is just the beginning? No need, I replied, deleting the message. She'll figure it out soon enough. Outside, photographers were still calling my name, wanting the shot of the night's biggest story. I stepped toward the window, letting the cameras catch my smile. They wanted a phoenix rising from the ashes? I'd give them an inferno. 2 months after the awards ceremony, I drove my new Tesla past my childhood home. The for sale sign on the lawn told its own story. My family's company had lost 70% of its value, and the fallout was still spreading. My phone rang through the car's speakers. Turn on CNBC, Andrea's voice commanded. Right now. I pulled over and switched on my phone's live stream. Peyton was on screen, looking considerably less polished than usual, giving a press conference. And so, effective immediately, I'm stepping down as Chief Innovation Officer, she was saying. Recent events have made it clear that our company's foundation was built on questionable decisions. Holy shit, I whispered. Is she actually admitting it? Keep watching, Andrea said. Peyton's voice cracked. To my sister Felicity, I'm sorry. What we did was wrong. I was wrong. I sat there, stunned as she continued her public mea culpa. The comments streaming beside the video were brutal, but for once they weren't aimed at me. My phone buzzed with another call. Mom. After 7 weeks of silence, she was finally reaching out. I let it go to voicemail. You okay? Andrea asked, still on the line. Yeah, I watched as my old house grew smaller in the rearview mirror. I need to see something. I drove to our old lab, now shuttered and empty. Through the windows, I could see the remnants of what used to be my world. Abandoned equipment, dusty counters, faded posters of my original product line. A familiar figure stood by the entrance. Emerson. I had a feeling you'd come here today, she said as I got out of the car. Did you see Peyton's press conference? She nodded. Quite the performance, though I suspect the board forced her hand. They did. I showed her a text from Josue. Board gave her an ultimatum: resign and confess or face criminal charges. Speaking of criminal charges, Emerson pulled out a tablet. Our lawyers found something interesting in those offshore accounts. Your father. Stop. I held up my hand. I don't want to know. Let the authorities handle it. A black SUV pulled into the parking lot. Mom stepped out, looking older than I remembered. Felicity, she called out. Please, can we talk? Emerson squeezed my arm. Want me to stay? I shook my head. I've got this. Mom approached slowly, her designer handbag hanging awkwardly at her side. I saw your new billboard on the highway. It's beautiful. What do you want, Mom? To apologize. She fumbled in her bag, pulling out a familiar notebook. I found your original formulation journal, the one you kept in high school when you first started experimenting. I stared at the worn cover, remembering all the late nights spent scribbling ideas, dreaming of success. You were always so talented, she continued, but we were so focused on the family legacy, on maintaining control. We forgot about you, the real you. Forgot? I laughed bitterly. You didn't forget. You deliberately pushed me aside, stole my work, and tried to destroy my second chance. I know. Tears smudged her perfect makeup. And now we're losing everything. The house, the company. Your father might face charges. That's not my problem. No, it's not. She held out the notebook. But this belongs to you. It always did. I took the journal, its pages filled with my teenage dreams. Is this supposed to make everything okay? Nothing will make it okay. She wiped her eyes. But maybe someday we can try to be better, to do better. My phone buzzed. Andrea sending a screenshot of Phoenix Rising's latest sales figures. We just hit 8 figures in monthly revenue. I have to go, I said, turning away. We're launching our new line next week. I know, I've seen the previews. She managed a weak smile. It looks incredible. You've really risen above all this. I got back in my car, placing the old notebook on the passenger seat. In the rearview mirror, I watched my mother standing alone in front of the failed business she'd helped destroy. Emerson tapped on my window. Still on for dinner? Andrea's got the marketing team coming to present the holiday campaign. Yeah, I started the engine. But first, I need to make a stop. I drove to the local women's shelter, the same one I'd volunteered at during college. Inside, I handed the director an envelope. What's this? She asked. A grant, I explained. To start a business training program for women starting over. Sometimes people need a second chance. And someone to believe in them. As I drove to dinner, my old notebook sitting beside me, I felt lighter somehow. Success was the best revenge, true. But maybe there was something even better than revenge. Maybe it was showing others how to rise from their own ashes. The Phoenix Rising headquarters buzzed with energy as I walked through the lab, now 10 times larger than where we started. Andrea was training our newest chemist, while Emerson conducted a virtual meeting with our European distributors. Ready for the big reveal? Andrea called out, setting down her pipette. As ready as I'll ever be. I smoothed down my blazer, checking my reflection in the lab window. Today wasn't just another product launch. Today was different. The Rising Stars program was about to change everything. Not just for me, but for others who needed their own second chances. The conference room was packed with press, industry leaders, and most importantly, the first class of Rising Stars participants. 20 women, each with their own story of starting over. Ladies and gentlemen, Emerson began. 2 years ago, Phoenix Rising emerged from betrayal to become one of beauty's biggest success stories. Today, we're not here to talk about products. We're here to talk about people. I took the podium, facing the crowd. Success means nothing if we don't lift others up. Each woman in our first Rising Stars class has a dream and the talent to achieve it. What they needed was what I once needed. Someone to believe in them. The screens behind me showed their faces, their stories. A domestic violence survivor with a revolutionary skincare concept, a former addict who'd developed natural healing remedies, a single mom with a game-changing hair care formula. Phoenix Rising isn't just providing funding, I continued. We're providing complete mentorship, lab access, legal protection, and distribution channels. These women aren't just getting a chance. They're getting everything they need to soar. Movement at the back of the room caught my eye. Peyton slipped in, looking different than I remembered. Simpler, more genuine somehow. She gave me a small nod. But there's one more announcement, I said. Starting today, Phoenix Rising is establishing the Fresh Start Foundation, $100 million dedicated to helping women rebuild their lives through entrepreneurship. The room erupted in applause. As cameras flashed, I watched our first class of rising stars hugging each other, tears streaming down their faces. This was what real success looked like. After the presentation, Peyton approached me. "That was incredible," she said softly. "Dad's going to prison, you know." I heard. The news had broken that morning. 5 years for fraud and tax evasion. Mom's selling her jewelry to pay the legal fees. Peyton twisted her now bare fingers. "I'm working at a department store cosmetics counter. It's humbling." Good. I met her eyes. Humbling can be healthy. I deserve that. She pulled out a small package. "I found this in my old things. Thought you might want it back." Inside was a faded photo. Teenage me in our first makeshift lab, mixing ingredients in Mom's kitchen bowls. Peyton watching admiringly from the doorway. "Remember how you used to let me test everything first?" she asked. "Before Mom and Dad got involved. Before I got greedy." "Stop." I held up my hand. "The past is done." "I know, She glanced around the state-of-the-art facility. "You've built something amazing here. Those women's stories, it's more than just business." Andrea appeared at my side, protective as always. "Everything okay here?" "Actually," I said, making a sudden decision. "Peyton was just about to help you train our new lab assistant. She does have experience after all." Both women stared at me in shock. "Are you sure?" Andrea asked. "Everyone deserves a chance to rise," I said, echoing my speech. "Even those who once pushed us down." Peyton's eyes filled with tears. "I don't deserve—" "No, you don't," I agreed. "But that's not the point. The point is doing better, being better. Starting from the bottom and earning your way up, for real this time." As Andrea led Peyton toward the training area, Emerson joined me. "That was unexpected." "Was it?" I watched my sister don a lab coat, hands shaking slightly. Sometimes the best revenge is showing others a better way. My phone buzzed with notifications. The Fresh Start Foundation was trending. Our rising stars' stories going viral. Real change, happening in real time. "Ready to get back to work?" Emerson asked. "Those new formulas won't develop themselves." I looked around at what we'd built. Not just a company, but a movement. A place where second chances weren't just given, but earned. Where rising from the ashes meant helping others find their wings. Actually, I smiled, rolling up my sleeves. I think we're just getting started. Because that's the thing about phoenixes. They don't just rise once. They keep rising, higher and higher, lighting the way for others to follow. And this was just the beginning of our ascent.